All right, so welcome, Reggie.
Thank you.
So we really want to start off our Fatherly Love series with a little introduction.
Okay.
So just letting people know who you are. So name, your number of children, age of children, and then your relationship status.
Okay.
Okay. So go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. My name is Reginald Johnson. I have 2 biological children. I have 1 stepson that I helped raise. I am right now. I'm currently single.
Cool. 2 biological children,
Yes.
1 stepchild. What are their ages?
So the oldest one, 88. What's that? 30.
Yeah. Okay, so 88.
Yeah.
And then what are the other 2?
27 and just turned 21. My daughter just turned 21 a couple weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so older stepson and then
Yes.
2 biological children.
Yes.
Okay. And your boy and the 2 girls?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Very cool.
Yes.
So let's do this. Before we go into that, let's talk about who taught you
Okay.
how to be a father or who didn't teach you how to be a father. So let's talk about your experience with your father growing up. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So I love my dad.
Is he?
I always say it's interesting. At my dad's funeral, I heard a lot of stories about how great a man he was and how he would do a lot of things for everybody. And then, like that side of my family, like when I would go in, I would hear all these stories about Uncle Wiley and how funny he was and whatnot. And I was thinking, it's like, I really would have liked to have known that person. you know, he wasn't always, he didn't do a lot for me, but he didn't do anything to hurt me. But as I always say, I can't really be mad at my dad because just like what he grew up and went through, being born in like 1946 in rural Alabama and going to Vietnam and all that. So, he was just who he was.
Got it. Okay. So it said didn't do much to hurt you, didn't do much for you. Was he just not really present or?
I look at my dad had, he had a lot of kids.
Right.
So I just sort of think that it was sort of overwhelming for him.
Mm-hmm.
And, from that time, a lot of men at all, the black men didn't really know how to handle a lot of things. So I just really feel like he did what he knew how to do. But as I said, he was like, he really didn't have any, at the time, there really wasn't any type of support system, anything to help him be better. So it wasn't like he had all the options and chose not to. It was just, the chips fell where they may, and it just came out. But as I say, once he got older and I got older, he was definitely much more of a, he got better as I got older, but when I was growing up, I just, it just was what it was.
Got you. And so I definitely want to talk about that transition from, your experience with him as a child to your experience as an adult. But what was it like as a child with him not being there with, his time is spread very thin with all these various children. What did you think about that as a child, if you can remember?
Yeah, I went through different emotions and whatnot. You were angry and then you weren't. And sometimes like you'll go and see other kids playing with their dads or dads at the, football games or baseball games and whatnot, and yours wasn't. But again, as I say, as I got older and as I started having children and started making whatever mistakes I made, some things sort of became a little more understandable. As I can, I see what that, what that's like, other things. But as I said, I didn't have any animosity or anything. It was more disappointment than anything else. Mm-hmm. It was more disappointment, but.
Got you. And we hear that, a lot of dads, that is their experience with their father a lot of times. But then, like you said, sometimes relationships get better with the father as children get older. It's not always the case.
Right.
And I think a lot of absent dads kind of rely on that, but that's not always going to be the case. But it did get better for you. Talk about how that did become better for you. You already touched on a little bit, as you got older, you started having your children, you kind of saw things a little differently. But tell me about how you began to have a better relationship with your father.
Well, I think one thing that was very important was that my mother never badmouthed him. When I was younger, like I'm talking about like 5, 6, I used to get my mom, she would call him a liar or certain things, and she would have me call him to have him come over or whatever. But, that sort of stopped. Like my mom, and another thing I think that helped was like my mom and my aunt, my dad's sister were really close. So I think out of all my dad's kids, I was the only one that really got a chance to have a relationship with that side of the family. So, like I said, there was never any animosity or ill will. It's just that as I got older, like my mom never kept him away. He would come, and he would be that. And my dad was always respectful. And that's something funny because my children's mother said that to me once, and she watched it. She said that when my dad comes over, he never acted like he was, the man. He always, I guess, sort of knew his place because he respected my mom and what she did for my sister and me. So as we got older and so on and so forth, like I didn't have that anger, so there really wasn't anything to overcome. I just really started just gravitating towards him. And as he got older, I started getting and not being able to do certain things. I just really it just became more compassionate. Let's say I look back on it as I started understanding more about what America was for black men. I started understanding about what Vietnam was, and as I say, I can't I can't be mad at him because I have no idea what any of that was like, in the 50s in Alabama. I barely know what Alabama now. About that I don't want to do. But it's like, and not even in Birmingham or Mobile, but like Lynette, which is a,
never heard of
a dot somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I can't be mad. But as I said, once he got better and once he started being able to do more, he did more. So as I say, he never had any animosity towards me, so I didn't have any animosity towards him. So as we got older, I started understanding it was like there's no point in being mad because that was years ago.
Right, got you. And so you grew up, became a man, had children of your own. Talk to me about how. Okay, so you had children now. Were you married at the time? Were you with somebody? What was that looking like for you? Yep.
You just slide away. Thanks. Good. So, well.
Yeah, I'll ask the question again.
Okay.
So. Exactly. So, you grew up, you had children of your own. What were the circumstances in which you had your children? Were you married? Were you with the mother of your children? Was it an accident? Like, what was that looking like for you?
Man, it's so crazy because it's simultaneously yesterday, but it was also like 1995. So that's 30 years ago, almost however long ago that was. But 29. But I look at it. I was at a really crazy place in my life. I dropped out of college. I didn't know what I was doing, and so I met my children's mother, and she had 2 children. At the time, like her, just like a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I was young, and just turned 21, so I was idealistic, and I felt I was going to come in and jump in, and I was like way over my head, and just didn't really want to admit it. But while we were there, then she got pregnant with my son, and then I really remember thinking like, wow. Like, okay, this is for real. Like, and I love the other 2. That, don't get me wrong, but like when it's like biological, it's like a little different. Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking at this and I'm really trying to do things. And I realized I was more so emulating, like my dad wasn't involved in my life, but I did have other men in my life. So I had like my uncles and other guys, and they were like old school, so they were that yes sir, no sir, so on and so forth, and I try to do that. That's not really my personality. And I was trying to do that and something else because I was trying to be a father and a man. I didn't know how to be either one, so to speak. And there was a lot of growing pains in my children's mother. We did not get along like at all. We were together for 7 years, and it was just like really, really bad. So I look back on a lot of that time, and a lot of memories I have back then are kind of fuzzy because part of me tries to like block that out, but I really look back on it and I look at the relationship I have with my son now, and I look at the way he is with his daughter, and I say I see where it wasn't perfect, but at least the effort was there. So like I made mistakes, and I was able to actually go back and apologize to my children and say, listen, I apologize. There was things I didn't know because nobody taught me, but I just had trial and error. So growing up and being a young father it was scary. It was terrifying, but it was also fulfilling because there were certain things I did, and I could look and say like, well, I did that, and certain memories I'll have. Like sometimes my son or somebody they'll call and say, you remember the time we did this? And in my mind I'm thinking, oh my God, that was fun. We messed up, we didn't do it, and they were thinking, oh, no, it was awesome, we got to go there, we got to do that. So the perspective is a little different. So it's sort of bittersweet, I guess I'll say.
Okay, there are a couple things that I want to touch on there.
Okay.
The perspectives, but also let's start with perspectives and then go to the apology. Okay, so you said, you did something, you didn't think it went so well. Kids thought it went great.
Yeah.
Do you know like an example of that? Because I think a lot of fathers need to hear that you're just putting forth a good effort, trying to do something with your children, even if it doesn't turn out the way you want it to, can still be a great experience, a great memory for your children, for them to carry for their life.
Yeah, and so this is one of the only times in my life I recall this happening. So backtracking, I mentioned that my children's mother had two when we first got together. A middle son, he actually died a few years ago. We can touch on that, but he was still young, so it was like him and his the middle son and my youngest son, and then my older brother and his son. I think and his son, and then my dad. We all went to a barbecue in Alabama. This is back before. This is like in the like early 2000s. So this is before you could really buy firecrackers here in Georgia. So of course you always had, it was 4th of July, so you had to go to Alabama to get them. So like my dad, we were going to Alabama. So, and it was like my children's mother, like we got into a fight going to get the kids and so on and so forth. And she was a type, and definitely want to badmouth her because we were young. We were in our 20s back then, so she was the type who would like to fight in front of the kids. So that was that. And then we would go get my dad, and so we driving to Alabama. It's like traffic going into LaGrange in Alabama. So and then we got to get the firecrackers, and so like I want to say it was like raining, and for me, I was like, oh my God, money, and so I was just like, oh man, I was ready to go home. But my kids, like they got a chance to pop firecrackers and just hang out with kids around because they were like in the country, so like they didn't get a chance to do that up here. So running around, so in my mind I'm thinking, oh man, they're gonna hate this because it's taking us forever to get here. It's hot and whatever. But like their perspective, like me, I'm focusing on the adult stuff, the logistical part. But they're like, okay, no, we're gonna have fun. We got the firecrackers. We got a chance to run around and see some stuff. And they had like a pig, like a whole barbecue pig and stuff. I'd never seen it like. So yeah, that whole scenario was. That I looked at it one way and they looked at it a completely different way.
I love that. I think about my parents. We went to Seattle. It was a big trip for us. We would do like basketball trips and things like that. You know what I'm saying? But this is the first one. It was a vacation. My brother had a track meet or something like that in Seattle, but he got hurt. But we said we're going anyway. So it was just a straight vacation. We had to go to no stadiums or anything like that. And my parents were lost. Remember how you used to be lost looking at maps and stuff like that?
Before GPS. Lost.
They were lost. hours in Seattle trying to figure out where we're going. And we just thought it was hilarious. Like, oh, you lost again? Like, so we just started dying. So for us, it was a happy memory. For them, it was frustrating, you know.
I still get mad. I'd be mad. Like, I got lost. I still get mad sometimes thinking about getting lost like a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I definitely feel that. But yeah, it's crazy how perspectives are different.
Sure, for sure. And now, so we said perspectives, and then there was another thing I wanted to touch on. Let's see. Dang it, what was that?
And I can get a word in my mind right now.
Yeah. Perspective, and then something with your father, maybe.
Oh, I think like you mentioned, like I guess getting better or the apology.
Ooh, yes. Okay, so surprise, you're not a perfect father. And so you make some mistakes, as we all do. That's why I always say with being a father, you can make a mistake every single day.
Yes.
And still be a great father.
Yes.
So you apologize. What sparked that idea in your mind that I'm going to apologize to my kids? And then talk to me about how that went for you.
Man, there's any number of things that made me apologize. Like my like the older stepson, you know, I had to apologize to him for, like, I mean, because at the time I was really only like 14 years older than he is. His mother had him when she was 14, and we're the same age, so I was only like 14 years older than him. So just having to come and just explain to them, like, listen, and I say this with my kids all the time, but like, think about what you know now versus what you knew 7 years ago or 10 years ago. So I had to come to him and like say that just certain things about just not taking time or being impatient, yelling, I always say, like, and this is not something I say to brag, but there's 3 boys. Like, I literally had fist fights with all 3 of the boys, all 3 of them. And in my mind, I go back and say, well, what could I, as an adult, what could I have done differently? So I go back and I say it there, like my daughter especially. When I realized for her that I wasn't as involved with her as I was with my son, but it was different because I was like literally insane. I was with my son for 6 years, and he spent like the first half of his life here in Atlanta while we were there. But then, like, my daughter was like 18 months old, and mom, she got transferred to Dallas, Texas, and so she moved out there. So my daughter was raised in Texas, and I see now that I use that distance as an excuse to really not be as hands-on or as involved with her as I was with my son. And then, of course, like, there was the situation, like, at first, because she was a girl, like, her mom would say, I don't send my daughter just anywhere. I'm like, well, you know, I'm not just anywhere, I'm her dad. So it took her a while for her to come get with me. And I was under the impression, like I think a lot of fathers are, that they think that just because I'm paying child support anytime she calls me and says, Daddy, I need, I give her money, and so on and so forth. But I was realizing there's not a lot of things that I was teaching her. So there was actually some underlying animosity there between us. So I said, I talked to her, and she was right when she was about to turn 18, and I sat down and I told her, I said, well, we need to have this conversation. So she didn't want to say anything because she was like, well, I don't want to hurt your feelings. I said, well, you will never offend me when you tell the truth. Tell me what you need to say right now. Get it out, because we need to start anew, because there were things that I did not know. And I apologize for not knowing them. It wasn't my fault, but you know, it wasn't my fault, but I still didn't know it, but now I do, and we can't go back and rehash the past. So all I can do is apologize and say, if you want to, we can move forward. So, you know, and again, as I see now with my son having a child, having his daughter, and my daughter has a son now, and I see them, you know, on the way, and when they can come to me and say, okay, well, what does this mean? And ask, and I say, well, I couldn't do that with my dad. I already know that, you know, that's something that they have that I didn't have. So now, as I say, my son, like, I had to figure it out. He doesn't have to figure it out. And my daughter, with that, she doesn't have to figure it out either. So
Wow.
it's just the acknowledgement that I did make mistakes. I was wrong, and I had a lot of stuff to apologize for, and being man enough to do that, and being able to stand and say, hey, whatever you have to say wrong about me, go ahead and say it, get it out, and we can let that go and move forward. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to make mistakes going forward. Like, I'm going to make mistakes, you're going to make mistakes, but the idea is, once you make a mistake, acknowledge it and try to rectify it, because trying to cover it up or whatever is just going to lead to more stuff. So
I think there are thousands, if not millions, of dads and children dealing with that situation.
yes,
Where dad was not involved in the way that he would have liked to have been, or the daughter or son would like him to be. And there's an opportunity to fix it. And I think there are a lot of mistakes made in that moment. Like, as you're talking about, I'm getting emotional about it, because I'm imagining dads looking at this and saying, oh, okay, so that's how I need to do it. Maybe I should just say that. They might replay it and just be like, I'll just say what Reggie said,
hopefully it works.
Right, for real. Because I've actually witnessed people mess it up. And I'm like, oh, you don't say that, because a lot of times you will talk to your adult child as though an adult, yet the things that you did that they're speaking from brings them right back to being a little girl.
Yeah.
So as much as you're comfortable, talk to me about how that conversation went, and then like how you guys move forward.
Well, I'll tell you exactly how it started. It started when she was about 14 years old.
Mhm.
And I was, I just gotten a job at Care Source, which I love, by the way.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, yo, why am I broke? Literally no budget. And then my children's mother called me to talk to me, because she said that my son's girlfriend at the time, because my son, he was when he was in college, my daughter went to spend the summer with him. And it was literally like, she called me every weekend. Dad, it was like Hillary Banks. Dad, can I have that? Can I have? And I was like, yeah. And so my son's girlfriend called her mother to have her talk to me, to talk to her about doing that. And it was funny how it all coincided at the same time. I was like, why am I so broke? Then when she called and I said, I was like, yo, and I realized, I was like, that's all you know how to do is call and beg for money. And so what I did was, and I decided what I was doing when she was 14, I asked her, are you having sex? And so she looked at me. I said, you heard me. Are you having sex? So she said, no. I said, well, if you were, would you tell me? She said, no. I was like, well, why not? She said, because she wouldn't feel comfortable. I was like, why would you not feel comfortable talking to me as your father? Because, as I said, I was a 14-year-old, but I know what I was trying to do when I was there. I know nothing's changed. So I need you to be able to come to me with honesty and openness to prevent you from doing something stupid. Right? So I started that, but then that's when she said that she really doesn't feel comfortable with me. And I said, wow, how could you not feel comfortable with your fathers? Right? I'm your father. You don't feel comfortable with me. So that's when I started realizing, it's like, well, dang, she doesn't really know me. Because, I was here in Atlanta, she was in Dallas, and we're talking on the phone, but that's all she knows how to do. That's how she knows how to connect with me. So, like, when she started running track, because I ran track in high school, a little bit in college. I was on the track team, and it meant something to me, but I never expressed that to her. And then when she was cheerleading and whatnot, I would always say, oh, hey, baby, that's good, seeing some pictures. But, I never made the effort to go out and see her do that. And so when I started realizing that, I was like, okay, so I need to fix this, because it's not on her to fix, it's on me to fix. And I remember her, her mom saying, and again, like, we did not get along. It was funny, we did not get along until we did. And once we did, it was like we got along. And so when she would say things to me, and at first I would be resistant, because of course I'm hearing the yapping. But once I let it go and I started hearing, I was like, oh, and I putting all things together, I was like, wow, now I see. So I had to go approach her. And that's why I said, I need you to tell me everything that's on your mind. So and I need to let you dads understand something. When you tell your kids they can come to you with anything, they will come to you with anything. And you need to be open and honest to say, hey, like if you say, I'm not gonna get mad, you can't get mad. I mean, at least not like that. You have to be able to listen. And you also have to be willing to accept that. And it could be temporary. Maybe the kids may not want to, like they may not be at that place yet. So you have to be understanding, be like, hey, let it go. But that's what it was. And you just have to realize that there's more at stake to it than just, like this is real life. And you have to equip these children to go into the world to make their decisions. And I saw that a lot, like with my son, when he was he played football, and he was being recruited to college, and the coaches were coming to me to try to get him to influence his decision. I say, well, at the time, like once he was 18, I know which is not wrong, but it's still an adult. And I said, I try to have them be able to make their own decisions. And I would say to him, well, this is not my decision, because this is where you're going to have to live. Same thing I told my daughter, these are not my decisions, these are your decisions, so you're going to have to live with them. I can give you the advice, but you're going to have to make that decision, whether I like it or not. It's going to be what you have to live with. And you're going to have to make sure that you give them that foundation. And it doesn't stop, because whoever said, oh, until 18 you go, because that ain't it. I can speak for a fact, because I'm 50 and I still depend on my mom. So,
right.
And so, okay.
Yep. And so it started at 14, you realize she doesn't really know you. And then there's a period between 14 and 18. And then like where you're trying to, I guess, get to know each other better. And then at 18, you sit down and have this conversation.
No, well, that was a conversation. That was sort of like a series of conversations from 14 to 18 with me trying to get in and say, because my daughter, like we have an open relationship, an open and honest relationship. Like my daughter, she'll come to talk to me about her menstrual cycle. She'll talk to me about all this other stuff and everything. Like but again, I said, that's fine, but I need you to be able to talk to me about sex as well. So it was an ongoing conversation, I guess, for her. She was just sort of like doling it out in doses to try to say, okay, hey, I like this, I like, this, to see how I was going to act. So, once she really came to me and said, okay, and laid like a big bombshell on me, like when she, at the time, basically she told me that she was 18. She said, hey, I'm smoking weed now. And I was like, I appreciate you for telling me. Because, that there are any number of ways that I could have found out. So I'm glad you were able to tell me that. So now we can go on. Of course, I told all my experiences and everything. We talked about it. But the fact that we can come and talk. Now, it's not perfect, because we still have, certain things. But like I said, it's just the fact that I feel that she knows that relationship was important to me. And it's not just a father and a daughter, like a father and a daughter, but like, a man and a woman who just happen to be related. Like the way that I never pushed like those things, like make sure you get a man and do this, blah, blah. I never pushed that on or relationship on any of my children. But I said, if you do decide to do that, if that's what you want to do, you're going to have to learn how to relate to a man. If you can't relate to me, then how you going to relate to any other man? It's more than just giving you money and getting your hair done and getting your nails done. It's about showing, like, making you the best you can be, inspiring you to do better, not just to be somebody who, supports and caters to, my ego. Like, you need to learn how to have those healthy relationships and thing, and that comes with all this. And I said, it was just your mom and her in a house full of men. So it's like you have to learn how to navigate that. So yes.
Got you. So then you have that conversation, and she's honest with you, like you request.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Eventually,
right. And you prepared yourself and didn't, react like so. when she had things to say to you that criticized, the way you parented her in the past or whatever it was, like, how did you take that? Did you get defensive? Did you try to explain it or excuse it or?
Not excuse it. I mean, I didn't get defensive because I mean, like, no, I've been cursed out. Like, I got the whole, and and like I said, and it's not just one conversation, because like we had it out, we got cool, then it was, upsetting again. But then there's a lot, there's a lot of trauma, underlying trauma there. Like, my, with my daughter, as I said, she witnessed a lot. Like the oldest son, he went to prison for a while. He's out now. So he got out. My middle son, as I said, he died. She was around there, with that. And then like her mom had an accident and went to the hospital. So, she suffered a lot of loss. And so I had to let her know that, like I was, her brother and I were the only constants in her life. And of course, her brother, like, they grew up together, so they're close. But I need to let her know that I'm more than just a voice on the phone. I'm there. So as we did, we talked and we were cool. But then, like when she got pregnant. Right, and then, that was like, and again, it wasn't the pregnancy that was the issue, but like I said, it was just certain things around there that, like the guy she was pregnant with, like there was some animosity there, like this is going back and forth. But it was just like me, I'm just like, I said, I will take this. But I've been here. I said all these same words. I yelled and screamed and cursed at my mom. I never really, my dad, we never really had that kind of, relationship. But like all the support people in my life, my uncle, my grandfather, my grandmother, all those people, I said all these exact same words, the exact same curse words, yelled, all that. Because I said, you know what I'm going to do is, you realize you were wrong. And so you come back to me, realizing that, I was like, I want to listen. Okay. And that's what happened. She came to me and she said, Dad, I apologize. I'm not going to throw it in your face and ask me to tell. I was like, no, because we did not get along. What's at stake is too much. Because I had to learn, I didn't know these things, but now I do. So it's on me to educate you all so you can tell, like my granddaughter and my grandson, so they don't have to go through what we go. What I went through. So that's what it was. So when she like those whatever I told, I said, get it out, say it, because
to tell me everything that's on your mind. So
let me say this.
And I need to let you dad
understand. When I told her, I said, you would never
tell your kids they can come to you with anything.
Everything said was true.
They will come to you.
So I couldn't get mad at it. Like, you never came.
Open and
I didn't.
honest to say,
all you did was give me money. I did.
I'm not going to get mad.
I said, yes, I did. So I can't. So I couldn't be mad at them. Now she said, you beat me and whatever. I was like, okay, now you wrong. But as long as she was telling the truth, I said, what can I say?
Not want to. Like, they may not be at that place yet. So
but you can still be mad at what I did 15 years ago, or we can, worry about 15 years from now and make it better. So that's right.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Like, this is real life.
Okay, so that's the relationship with your daughter. You said it's not perfect, but it's good. But whose relationship is perfect? Especially depending on the moment with daughters, at least for mine. All right, so at this point, we've talked mostly about that relationship with your daughter, because you said it was different coming up. Talk to me about your relationship with your son. I know he was there for 6 years. You were there for 6 years in the house with him. He moved out to Dallas as well. Okay, so how did that relationship go with your son?
So it was a little.
You're gonna have to live.
It was a little easier because my son was very easy. I mean, typical boy stuff. He was a little lazy and everything, but he wasn't a problem child. But as he got older, right, and he was 14, 15. Something happened, and I guess he started trying to be a street life or whatever. And I was like, that's because that's definitely not how he rolled, how we came up. And like I say, your mother works hard, I work hard, and whatnot. So it was really really hard because he actually had and again, I don't know
but that was a
specifics of
conversation
what
that was
happened,
sort of like a
but
series
he
of conversations
was
from 14
really
to
starting to
18
exhibit some
with
like
me
psychotic
trying to get
or
in
like
and say,
like
you know, my
instances, like he was having
my door, like we
delusions
have an
and
open relationship,
just
open and
like
honest
really
relationship.
talking
My daughter, she'll come and talk to me
just
about her menstrual
really
cycle.
saying some
She'll
off
talk
the
to me
wall
about all this
things
other
like
stuff and everything, like she went, you know,
or whatever.
but
So
again,
he
I said,
moved here. So for
that's
his junior
fine.
high
I
school,
need you to talk to me
he
about
moved
sex
here to
as well.
stay with me, and I actually got
So,
him the
it's
some,
just,
some
it was
counseling
an
and
conversation, I guess,
and
for her.
whatever
She was just sort of
whatever
like
he was
dozing it
going
out
through,
and then
fortunately he was
trying
able
to
to work
say,
through
okay,
it.
hey, I like
So
this, I like this, I like, you know,
and
this, and
he
see
was
how I
able to
gonna
graduate from
act.
high school, go to
So,
college, and graduate from college.
You know, once,
but
you know, so once she really
it
came
was
to me
just
and said,
that
okay,
at that juncture, that point, I
laid
I
like a big
because
bombshell on me,
as I
like,
say,
she,
like
you know,
I like
you know,
that's not the
at the
part that they
time,
teach you about.
basically
You know,
she told me,
when
she was 18,
when
she
there's
said,
a
hey,
an
I'm
you know
smoking
an
weed
issue
now. And I was
you know like that.
you know,
Because
appreciate you
I'm
telling
scared,
me.
you know,
There are
and
any
I
number of
had
ways
no
I could have
idea
found out.
what to do,
So,
and so like I
I'm
got
glad
lucky, I
you were
got
able to tell
fortunate.
me that. So
So
now we can go on to
once
what
that
I
happened,
told
and
you,
then
all
he
my
went
experiences and
to
everything we talked about.
he went to
But
college. You know, he
the
was
fact
in
that we
a
can come
different city, like neither one of us ever been
now, it's not
Memphis.
perfect,
So I
you
mean,
know,
it wasn't like
we still have,
it wasn't like
you
he
know,
was
certain
across the
things,
world, but nice well
like I said, it's
edge.
just the fact
So
that
just
I
and
feel
then really
that
having to
knows
keep him
that
encouraged.
relationship
You know,
was
being
important to me.
a
It's
student
not just
athlete, you know, on their level,
you know, like
and you know,
father
trying
and
to
daughter,
just
but like,
just really
you know,
make it, you know, make it work, and
a man and a woman,
in my
you just
mind,
have to
really
be
just
related.
trying
Like,
to understand,
like,
like, and
the way
is what
that
I'm
you
saying
know,
even
you know,
does
I
it even
never
make any
pushed,
sense? I don't know.
those things, like,
And you know, having to get those 3 a.m. phone calls where it's just, you know, that I like.
But I said, if
talking
you
about
do
nothing,
decide to do
you know,
that,
just
if
I
that's what you wanna
ain't
do,
want nothing, Dad. I was
you
sitting
have to
here
know how to
lonely.
relate to a
Well,
man.
okay,
You can't
let's talk.
relate
What
to
you want to talk
me
about?
than how you gonna relate to any other man. It's more
You
than
know,
just
having to
giving you money,
you know,
and getting your
navigate
hair
certain
done,
things like, you know,
nails done. It's
relationships,
about
having to
like
you
making
know,
you
with
the best
you know, with his
inspiring
relationships.
you
Then once he
to
told
do
me that he was
better,
going to have a
not
daughter,
just
you know,
to
going through that. Then once he
somebody who,
graduated, and that's right when COVID happened, and so him and his family came to stay with me for about a year and a half, and then there was that transition of okay, well, I know you we lived together as a child, but now you're an adult.
It's like
you really try to come to that,
you have to learn how to,
you know, just those dynamics or whatever, and just really having to understand how to let go and how to trust. Because I can remember when he had to run a car to drive to Mississippi to tow another car back, and it was interesting because and I used to do a lot of crazy stuff. Like I would like leave the house at 10 p.m. and just go walking all in the streets of Atlanta or whatever. Like my mom would, you know, it would hurt her, and I would say, "Man, Mom, you just being too much." But in that instance, when it was my son, I'm like, you know, really like, oh my God, is this like really? So trying to really,
I mean, like, no, we like,
understand that okay, this is not a little boy anymore, this is a man, but he's still, you know, he's still inexperienced. So like, when to
like I said,
let him make his mistakes, or when to step in and do certain things. So and just really understanding,
you know,
just trying
upsetting
to
again. But then there's a lot, you know,
hope
like, there's a lot
that
of trauma,
what
underlying
I'm
trauma
saying,
there.
what I'm
Like,
doing
you know,
is sufficient, is good enough,
you know,
and that is right. Because let's say I had to, this is trial and error. So
Yeah.
Like,
So a lot
he's
there.
in prison for a while. He's out
Let's
now.
start
So he got
with.
out. My middle son, as I said, he
There
died.
were some
You know,
things
she
he was saying
around
that
there,
were
you know, with
concerning. He
that.
said,
Like,
"We
her
want to go
mom,
get some counseling." Was it
had an accident,
was it ever a
went to the
thought
hospital,
of
so, you
he
know,
doesn't
she
need
suffered a lot of
counseling, we're not
loss.
gonna bother,
So I had to
or
let
okay.
her know
like
that
it would be
I
a
was, you know,
situation
like,
where
her
like we
brother
would be
and I were
driving,
on
and like say we
conflict in her life.
pass a
And of
bus
course, her
stop,
brother, like, they grew up
and then
together, so
he would
they're
say,
close. But
you know, you knew that guy
let her
didn't
know
do
that
that. Something's
I'm-
not right.
I'm
Like
more than just a
what I
voice on
think
the
it
phone.
was
I'm
is
there,
he
so as
probably,
like,
and again, like, you know,
talked,
kids, they
and
do
we was
things like he
cool, but
probably
then,
experimented
like,
with either
she
like
got
some
pregnant,
synthetic marijuana,
that was
or he
like,
got
well,
something to somebody
again,
laced
it wasn't the
and
pregnancy
it was on that level.
issue,
and
but like I said, it was just certain things
and,
around there.
you know,
that,
he
like,
would,
you know,
but one thing that would
the guy
happen,
she
and
pregnant with, like, there was some
like,
animosity
you know,
there,
my
like,
son is my
just
size,
going
like
back and
he's
forth, but it's just
like
me. I'm just
6'4",
I said, I will
something.
take this.
And I'd be in the bed, and like he was just knocking on the door. He's like, "Dad, can I come in the bed with you?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So he just comes, just to, and like he's like 16, 17 at the time, but then he just needed that. So I would say, "Yeah, come on," because whatever it was, that's what he took. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if that was me, who would I have been able? Because like my mom, my mom was a superstar. She did everything she could. But again, it was just her, and my sister, and me.
I'm going to listen.
So I could just imagine what that would have been like if it was me. So that's what it took. It took for me to really make that effort to try to put it, to try to bring him back, because I knew what the risk was. It was like, because at that point his older brother was already in jail, so like definitely didn't want to do that, and I was just really scared about what the consequences were. And he had already told me that it was his goal. He wanted to go to college. So I said, well, if you want to go to college, like you got to start. Like, yeah, you actually had to start years ago, but you're already behind the time. So
when
it was.
I told her, I said, you will never
it was really
but everything she said was true. So I couldn't get mad at it.
One of the scariest things I ever did in my life, because like you literally had no idea what was going on.
So I couldn't be mad at that. She said,
we found a good therapist, and it really didn't take. So I guess whatever it was, worked his way through his system, and he came out. But I was, as I say, I was terrified, but I was so fortunate when he came through.
You can still be mad at what I did 15 years ago.
But yeah, there was never any doubt. Like, he needed,
15 years from now, make it better.
I actually thought he would have to be hospitalized, because it was literally that bad. But fortunately, it didn't get to that point.
Okay. That's incredible. All right, so wonderful. That's that, and I think we're gonna have to probably come back for a part 2. To be honest with you, because there's a lot here. That's what's cool too, because I know the work that you do. I know that you're a champion of fatherhood. I know that you're always pushing people to include fathers and things, and support fatherhood initiatives. I'm hearing some of your why here, but why
down
in your
to the
mind
right through that door.
You get up every day and try to do for fathers?
Yeah, because I know that there's a million dads just like I was out there who want to do better, but they may not know how to. They may not know where to start. Again, I was fortunate because, my mom was a community type person, so she worked with a lot of people. So I just being with her, I got connected. There was a program I was in, so it was a kid called Father and Father.
That wasn't recorded.
I was able to go there and said in my mind going there, I'm like, oh my God, we got to go on this bus. These kids, they get nerves. We go up there, but they loved it. They're like, oh, we get to go. So that helped out. But I know there were a lot of brothers who were in that class with me, but there were a lot more who should have been. So just if I could go out and reach some guy, because I remember when we first started the Fathers Matter initiative, and we had the event over in Decatur back in 2021, whenever that was, and a brother came up and he said, "Why is that? I didn't even think anybody cared." I did not think anybody cared. So that's what a lot of these brothers out here, they say, well, they care about women, they care about children, they don't care about us, especially black men. I say, well, no, we do care. And there's nothing wrong with me, and there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I need help. Nothing wrong, because that's what we're here for. So I wake up every day to try to know something. I know I can't change the system, right? So as I say, like, whatever we can do, if I can help you find a job, if I can help you find a doctor, if I can help you get health insurance,
my son
if I can help you do anything, brother,
typical boy.
That's what I'm going to do. So I wake up every morning in my mind thinking, how can I how can I help somebody?
Yeah. And so you do that in
14,
ways
15,
above and beyond what you do with your
something
regular
happened,
job at
and
CareSource.
I guess he was-
And so you
he
kind of touched
started-
on some of those. Talk to me
started
specifically
trying to be in
about
the
what
street
you all
life or
do with
whatever,
CareSource and how
and,
you
I was like, that's,
funded
that's
different
definitely not
events
how
and
we
all this
roll,
sort of thing.
how we came up,
Talk to me
and,
about that whole
like I said,
process.
your mother
Okay,
worked
so for
hard,
those of you who do not
I
know,
worked
CareSource,
hard,
we're a nonprofit
and
health insurance
whatnot.
company,
So that was,
and we are
really,
we have
really
you know we have
hard because
we're
he
in
actually
7
had
different states
a-
now, but right here in Georgia, you know, we have 3 main products. We do Medicaid, like that. So all the Medicaid, type of babies, things of that nature, marketplace and dual eligibles. Most of our members are Medicaid, so you know, in Georgia, it's not a Medicaid expansion state. So most of the people who are on our rosters are pregnant women and children. So when they we go to, in Georgia we call it DFACS. I mean, people you go to the office.
Child Protective Services. Yep.
So you get approved, they be automatically assigned to a health plan. So my job is to help our health plan increase the you know, the livelihood and, you know, the health status, and just basically improve the life and well-being of our members. And because of the way it is in Georgia, most of our members are women and children, so we don't have a lot of male members. But as I always say, every woman with a child,
that's not the part that they
at least knew a man at one point. So try to help some of these guys, if not with direct services, let's say just with connecting with resources. Let's say we do marketplace, aka Obamacare. A lot of men who are eligible don't know. There's a new Georgia Pathways program in Georgia. Some people may be eligible for it. I can let them know about that. But above that, there's certain things we do like pay for GED testing, free bank accounts, YMCA memberships, life services, resume help, and you know, that's something that we do for our members. But we have partners to do for the whole community. So what I try to do is just go out and connect with our members. Whenever I meet one of our members, if it's you know, a woman with a child, I'll say, hey, I'm not trying to get anybody's business. I'll just say, you know, we also have partners who help who help men, the fathers. So we do things like our holiday party, Let's Rap, that's the Resiliency Action Plan. We had the Breakfast Club, where we had dads able to come out and speak with different service providers in the Metro Atlanta area. We have our basketball tournament upcoming June 8th at CareSource. We sponsor the last 2. So this is an opportunity for different men from different fatherhood and men's health organizations coming together to fellowship and play a little basketball, win a little money. You know, hopefully we many other things, just a way to get the men to come out to say, hey, the way we care about your women, the way we care about your children, we also care about you. And so that's why I do it, and I love it whenever we have a company meeting or something like that. We talk about certain things that we're going to do, and I'll mention that's great. But is there a way that we can incorporate dads or fathers into this and say, you know what? That's a good idea, and we do that. So I love the fact that now, when they say women and children's health, is not just women and children, because the dad, whether he's in the household or not, with married or not, that's your child. So at some point, if that child is with you, I need you to understand everything that goes along with being a parent, being a father, all that stuff. So that's why I do what I do.
He's still inexperienced, so like when to let him make his mistakes.
And I think we're starting to realize how important a dad's involvement is to overall quality of life and well-being for mother and child.
Yes.
Right? So I think even if we still don't care all that much about fathers, we know that if we really care about moms and children, we also need to invest in dad.
You know, I've shared, cried. I've shed those tears. I've changed diapers. I paced the floor at night. I've cooked. I picked them up from school. Whatever, all those, the mom things.
Oh no,
I did all those, not because and not because I want to accolades. That's what I did as my child. I had, I didn't carry them for 9 months. I didn't have the labor, because when they gonna let you know about that.
Oh yeah.
I didn't have that, but you know, the love I have for this child is exactly the same. It's just as strong. So I just need people to understand that when y'all say parents, it's not just mothers, like parents, both of us.
Yeah, and kids need both mom and dad.
My son is my size.
Let's close out with a message to your children. So this can be whatever's on your heart at this time. You know, how you feel about them, what you hope and dream for them, whatever it may be. This is just a message directed to them. And I do this because my dad passed a few years back, and I would love to have a video of him. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine if, you know, when you were feeling kind of down or whatever, you got an uplifting video from your father or whatever it is. So it's kind of that vibe.
She did.
My message is,
could, but you know, again, it was just her and me.
Yeah.
So I could just imagine.
My message is that nobody's personal.
Like if it was me,
you know,
that's what it took.
Don't
it took
be afraid
me
to make a mistake.
Make that effort to,
especially if you want to learn from that mistake.
To try to, you know, bring him back.
Because
what the risk
fear
was,
is tricky.
Because at that point, his older brother was already in jail. So like, definitely didn't want to do that, and I was really scared about what the consequences were. Already told me.
No, see, that's good too. So we got a good clip. We'll cut out this part, and then you can jump back in. So it's all good.
But you're already behind the time. So it was.
You know, I wasn't perfect.
Really,
I didn't even try to be.
That was like one of the scariest things I ever did.
The idea is, whatever's worth having is worth fighting for.
I had no idea what was
and you know, don't think that, you know, a setback, a mistake, or anything, embarrassment.
So I guess whatever it was,
I guarantee you, whatever you get wrong, it's not going to be the last thing. So don't let it get you down. Always persevere and stay strong, because
he needed.
Not knowing
I actually thought he would have to be hospitalized. It was literally that bad, but
never learning is. So always be willing to learn and to be better.
Awesome. That's it, man. Beautiful. Before we turn off, anything else you want to touch on? You good?
You good for much.
Yeah, man. That was incredible. I love it.
Yes, sir.
And like I said, I think that things will be. My goal as we continue to build this out is for dads to have like a catalog to say, okay, well, I want to learn about this issue. Mm-hmm. Boom, I'm gonna go to this playlist and get these videos, you know, that sort of thing. So I love it, man.
Yes, sir, man.
A lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I was kind of avoiding that, man. But I kind of, because I was like, I didn't know. I didn't know what I was gonna say, or it wasn't gonna make any sense.
See, but then that's the thing too. You know, people got to kind of jump out and do it first, right?